Vegas. I have this condition, far from malignant, far from benign, where my mind functions in a logical, dispassionate, objective realm, as fair as my nature will allow, while my heart persists in delusional optimism, especially when considering relationships with family, my father in particular. My heart is impervious to all the evidence my mind has accepted a long time ago. Invariably, this places me in sticky situations. One of these days, my mind will drop the hammer on my heart. That day might very well be a few millennia and incarnations from today. But anyway, so be it. So I had been planning for a few months on visiting my father in Las Vegas for the World Series of Poker for a week. I knew my father would be accompanied by one of his glorious redneck friends, because the only people knuckle-dragging rednecks like are other knuckle-dragging rednecks. I had strong reservations about making the trip for all the months I had considered it, leading up to me flying into Vegas against all my good judgment. Why? Because my heart is an optimistic fool, still clinging to hope of a breakthrough with my father. For crying out loud, he's my father. The blood refuses to sever that bond, in the face of all petitions from the mind. For the mind knows there will never be a breakthrough. The capacity for change is not in all people. Intellectual honesty is the rarest of virtues. To interject a postscript here already, since the writing of this epistle Vegas, I have reconciled with my father. But I am leaving this epistle in for the record. This silly saga begins with me meeting my father and his bosom pal at the airport. My father makes the briefest of eye contact with me, like a scared animal taking a quick peek out of a cave in the woods to see if the coast is clear. His buddy starts in on how terrible their flight was, worst airline ever, worst customer service, smallest, most uncomfortable seats on the plane, bumpiest flight ever ad nauseum. My father parrots everything he says. I smile and offer condolences. Flights are a mixed bag. Some are smooth, some are nightmares. These things happen. As long as I step off the plane, I feel I'm still ahead in the game. Rental car, here we come. Once we're in the car, the subject of conversation is coloreds, the polite expression shameless racists use when discussing that delicate subject of race. How when the colored athletes get their hands on some money, all they want to do is go out there and drop $100,000 on a car. My father's friend values his dollar. He made a new hobby of buying and selling old cars, fixing them up and all, and to boot, Vegas isn't taking all his money. And look at all the street trash. Don't tell me they didn't all make poor decisions leading them to the streets. Nothing too obnoxiously ignorant. Surely we've all heard plenty worse. It's late, we're all tired, maybe that's it. Next day, in the car, my father's bosom buddy is expounding on how he cultivates his gift for getting under people's skin. His greatest point of pride. How he nearly bit a guy's finger off in a poker game. He harassed the guy until the guy shoved his finger in his face and he decided to chomp down on it. Something to be proud of. A gift in his treasure trove of a personality. Or the 3 casinos he's been thrown out of, none of which were his fault. Then the conversation turns to basking in the brilliance of one of his redneck friends who owns a railroad, gold and silver trade store, and personal airplane. Nothing impresses a redneck more than a fellow redneck making savvy business decisions and accumulating wealth. My father chimes in on how this rich redneck is probably the smartest and nicest human being he's ever had the chance to meet, and how he laments the fact that he'll always be the third best friend of his bosom buddy. Even the president of our fine country, that you-know-what, if we're being honest, isn't smarter than their buddy with his own railroad and gold and silver trade store. So says the sage, whom my father with the puppy dog loyalty counts himself as his third best friend. What more could a person do and make of their life? By this time, I'm ready to heave up my breakfast. Since the writing of this, I have reconciled with my father. But to continue with this epistle. Luke, you fooled yourself again. This is all on me, and I know it. I hold full blame for this. None of this is new. Every word out of my father's bosom buddy's mouth is dripping with venom, oozing negativity, morning, noon, and night, without fail, on a loop. I confront my father. He defends his friend. He's not negative all the time. I'm overreacting in my assessment of his friend. He's actually a pretty good guy. All the while, my internal voice is screaming at my heart, "What did you expect? You knew this would happen. This always happens when you spend time with your father. You could be in the most positive, uplifting, life-affirming mood, and it turns to shit. It always turns to shit when you're around negative people. You can't change stupid. Stupid people are not stupid because they are ignorant. They are ignorant because they are stupid. This is an immutable law of nature. Nothing will change this law. It is pure incorrigibility. I was reticent to allow myself to express it in words because it fills me with despair. But I think it is necessary. It's a truth essential to my survival. I step outside of what I know is true with the hope of changing people, knowing damn well it'll never happen. The only thing that happens is I feel like shit for a spell. Fortunately, I bounce back. I know I need to quit my father and his ilk. My heartstrings keep pulling me back. What to do? I'm fully aware of how tepid the events of the latest attempt at connecting with my father have been. Just a whole lot of stupid for the most part. Still, I felt the presence of evil. Evil lurking. Evil doing its best to go undetected. But I knew it was there. It knew I knew, and I cut my trip short as a result. Most of what happened were triggers of old wounds remembered, flashes of childhood trauma at the hands of my father. My heart breaks, it heals, it aches, it calls out, reaching, reaching, reaching. Interacting with the average human being is the equivalent of being flicked in the face with a shoelace all day long. The wet, single spaghetti noodle dangling over your ear, incessantly twitching the sides of your cheek, every damn day, and there is nothing I can say or do to reach the average human being to make this stop. How many times must my intellectual honesty be demonstrated, in all its genuineness, its unfettered sincerity? It's right in front of their faces, for a lifetime, all of a lifetime, for an eternity, and what is returned to me but forlorn invisibility? It counts for absolutely nothing to them. Nothing penetrates their consciousness. For that is what I am to any and all average people, a forlorn invisibility. There is nothing the average person scorns more than the thoughtful man. Their animal instincts get a whiff of that and they strike. Damn it, I'm sick and tired of it. Such miserable piss and shit is the common herd. I have tried with everything I have to reach them, with all my kindness, with all my love, with all my understanding. My patience and tolerance for intentional, petty meanness is spent. If there is ever a day of reckoning, which I strongly doubt, where all accounts are measured and settled, my true self will not stand denial of this fact. A few good friendships is all I have to show for it, which cannot be undervalued. The real kicker is I feel fantastic. Never better. Notwithstanding the scourge of loneliness reinforced each day by my participation in the world. Willpower. The will to live and the strength of my nature. Now, free will is an illusion, but I do believe I won the lottery with my natural willpower. It's the only thing I have. The shithouse burns, but I'm smelling like roses. My mother and sister are visiting in a week. I'm looking forward to seeing them. My mother knows I have no intention of visiting home anytime soon, and if I ever would, it's very bad news for everyone in the family. She'll have few opportunities to see me again. I wish things were different, but hope against hope is a mere parlor game, one I tire of indulging in. The proper coagulation for this epistle never happened. I waited, thought of coaxing it, decided against it, settled on throwing together some notes from an occurrence I'd rather forget. Familiar patterns repeating themselves with the same people ad infinitum, ad nauseum. I can't change or help the people I care most about, and I feel impotent because of it. I'm going to read Alexander Solzhenitsyn's Gulag Chronicles. I have a heart connection with him. Everything I've read of his so far has been edifying in the deepest sense. I'm looking forward to it. I take comfort knowing there are guys like you and me and good old Solzhenitsyn out there, fighting the good fight. What else would we do with ourselves? Postscript. Something compelled me to go straight to the back of the Gulag Archipelago, abridged version, and read Solzhenitsyn's Nobel lecture. If that doesn't move your soul, nothing will. Transcendentally Divine. June 2015. And before signing off, I wanted to add another third postscript, just in case you forgot. But since the writing of this epistle nearly 5 years ago, my father and I have reconciled, and I do believe that it's permanent. Something deep and mysterious changed, and sometimes you can just tell these things. So, once again, signing off, June 5th, June 2015.